Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something pretty heavy, animal cruelty.
Yeah.
We've got this academic article.
Hmm.
It's called Animal Cruelty, a Review,
Okay.
and it was published in the Journal of Natural Sciences Research. It really gets into like the different types of animal cruelty, why we should care, and what we can do to fight it.
Well, it's definitely a complex issue, and one of the things that this article kind of points out right off the bat is that there's not like a universally agreed upon definition of animal cruelty.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that too. Like, where's the line?
Right.
Like how do we know when we've crossed the line
Yeah.
from like I don't know, disciplining a pet to abuse?
Right, exactly. In
Yeah.
the article, it highlights how like public perception of animal cruelty can be pretty inconsistent.
Yeah.
People might be totally outraged. They see someone hitting a dog,
Yeah.
but then they might not even think twice about, the practices in factory farming. Oh, interesting.
Even though both situations can cause a lot of suffering.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like the type of animal kind of makes a difference to people
Yeah.
and how we judge what's cruel.
Exactly, yeah. But to kind of get a more concrete picture, the article goes into some legal definitions.
Okay.
For example, the California Penal Code is very specific about what is animal cruelty.
Okay.
Like things like maiming an animal or torturing an animal or killing an animal when it's not justified. All of these are illegal.
So it's not just about violence. It's about more than just that.
Right.
What about neglecting like an animal's basic needs?
Yeah, so California law covers that too.
Okay.
So depriving an animal of, the basics, food, water, or shelter,
Hmm.
that's also a crime, even if there's no like physical abuse involved.
So we've got some legal frameworks in place.
Right.
But I noticed that the article also mentioned the Nigerian Constitution.
Yeah.
So what's their approach like?
Well, it's interesting. The Nigerian Constitution, it kind of outlines a broader range of actions that are considered cruel,
Oh, okay.
like things like overworking an animal or even transporting it in a way that causes suffering.
So it's like a wider scope than just physical violence.
Exactly. Yeah, it goes beyond just hitting or neglecting the basics. But the article it goes beyond these like legal definitions too. It actually it breaks down animal cruelty into different types, each with its own implications.
So let's dive into those types.
Yeah.
The first one mentioned is simple neglect.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So simple neglect is basically when someone fails to provide an animal with those basic necessities of life that we were talking about. Like, imagine a dog
Okay.
that's chained up outside without any shelter from the elements.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's like a very classic example of simple neglect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us have probably seen situations like that in our communities, and
Yeah.
it's always concerning.
Yeah, for sure. And it can get worse.
Uh-huh.
The article talks about gross neglect,
Okay.
which is more deliberate. It's a more deliberate form of deprivation.
Okay.
This could be like abandoning a sick animal
Yeah.
or a hurt animal,
Yeah.
or withholding veterinary care, like on purpose,
Hmm.
or even just not giving an animal food or water.
That's really sad, and it feels like it goes beyond just carelessness or something. There's something more intentional there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, you have intentional abuse,
Right.
which is like the most obvious form of cruelty.
Yeah.
This involves actually hurting an animal on purpose, like hitting, kicking, stabbing, or anything that causes pain and suffering.
Yeah, I think those are the cases that we often see in the news, that really grab our attention. But I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
Yeah, you're right. For example, the article, it sheds light on animal horning,
Okay.
which is a problem that often doesn't get enough attention.
Hmm.
This is when someone accumulates a ton of animals,
Okay.
way more than they can actually take care of.
So it's not just about someone being an animal lover,
Right, exactly. It's more complicated than that. The article emphasizes that hoarding situations, they often come from psychological distress.
No. Okay.
And they result in, a lot of neglect and suffering for the animals.
So there's like a human element to it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely multifaceted.
Okay. What other kinds of cruelty does the article talk about?
Well, it goes into organized abuse,
Mm.
which includes things like dogfighting and cockfighting.
Yeah.
These are unfortunately still happening in a lot of parts of the world.
Really?
Yeah, it's basically systematic cruelty,
Mm-hmm.
all for profit or entertainment.
It's hard to believe that that still goes on. What about the more unusual types of cruelty? Like I know the outline mentioned ritualistic abuse.
Yeah, that's a pretty disturbing category.
Yeah.
So ritualistic abuse, that's when animals are harmed as part of ceremonies or practices,
Okay.
and they're usually linked to um, the occult or some kind of extremist beliefs.
Wow.
And, while the media might sometimes exaggerate things, the article makes it clear that there are real cases.
Yeah.
And the motivations behind them are, they're complex.
Okay.
They often have to do with power dynamics and control.
It's a pretty dark side of human behavior.
Yeah.
Are there any other types of cruelty we should be aware of?
Well, the article also addresses animal sexual assault,
Okay.
which I know can be a really uncomfortable topic to talk about,
Yeah.
but it is a reality.
Right.
It's any sexual contact with an animal, and it's an issue that's getting more attention as people become more aware of it.
It's upsetting to think about all the different ways that that animals can be mistreated.
Yeah.
But, this article, it doesn't just list these acts, it goes into why it matters. Why should we care so much about animal cruelty?
Right, and that's where it gets really interesting. So you see, animal cruelty, it's not just about animal welfare.
Yeah.
It's actually a really strong indicator of broader problems in society and even potential violence against other humans.
Hold on, are you saying there's a connection between cruelty to animals and violence against people?
The research actually suggests that there is, yeah.
Huh.
The article mentions a study of prison inmates,
Okay.
and they found that those who were convicted of violent crimes had a much higher history of animal abuse
Oh, wow.
compared to those who were convicted of nonviolent crimes.
So it's like if someone is capable of hurting an animal,
Yeah.
they might be more likely to harm a person.
Point in that direction.
Okay.
And it's not just about future violence either.
Okay.
Animal cruelty is often a sign that there's violence happening right now within a family.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. If someone feels okay abusing an animal at home,
Mm.
it makes sense to think that others in the home might be victims of abuse too.
Uh-huh.
The article talks about a study of women's shelters,
Okay.
and they found that 85% of them reported pet abuse,
Wow.
along with domestic violence.
That's a really alarming statistic. It
Yeah.
shows that there's a connection there between animal cruelty and just a broader pattern of violence.
Hmm.
What about kids who are cruel to animals? Is that a worry?
It can be.
Okay.
The article explains that cruelty to animals in childhood can be an early warning sign
Mm-hmm.
for future violence
Okay.
and antisocial behavior.
So not every kid who pulls a cat's tail is gonna,
Right, of course not.
become a criminal or something.
Right.
But it could be a sign.
Exactly, yeah. It's something to pay attention to.
So early intervention is important
Absolutely.
if we see those signs.
Yeah, addressing these behaviors early on is really important.
Yeah.
As kids get older, it gets harder to help them.
Right.
So, yeah, identifying those warning signs early can make a big difference.
This is all really heavy stuff.
Yep.
We've covered neglect and abuse and even disturbing connections to violence.
Yeah.
But what about those truly horrific cases that we sometimes hear about,
Yeah.
like involving serial killers or mass shooters?
Yeah.
Does animal cruelty play a role there?
Sadly, it often does.
Okay.
The article mentions notorious figures like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
They both had documented histories of animal abuse before they escalated to violence against humans.
It's like cruelty to animals can be a stepping stone to more extreme violence.
That might be oversimplifying it a little bit,
Yeah.
but there's definitely a connection there. And what's fascinating is that researchers think this link might be because of a lack of empathy
Okay.
and a desensitization to suffering.
Uh-huh.
So by harming animals, individuals might be, practicing their capacity for cruelty,
Wow.
which can then spill over into how they interact with people.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. It
Yeah.
seems like we really need to take animal cruelty seriously,
Mhm.
not just for the animals, but for everyone.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that animal cruelty is a symptom
Okay.
of deeper problems in society.
So we've covered a lot,
Yeah.
and it's been pretty intense.
Yeah.
We've talked about the different kinds of cruelty, the disturbing links to violence, and how important early intervention is.
Mhm.
But now I'm wondering, like, what can we actually do about it?
Right? That's the big question. The good news is that um, there are things we can do,
Okay.
both individually and as a society,
Okay.
to fight animal cruelty and create a more compassionate world.
Let's talk about those solutions next time.
Yeah, let's do that. So how do we even start tackling this?
Right.
Well, the article suggests a kind of multi-pronged approach.
Mm.
You know, one really important part is the role of the government,
Okay.
creating and really importantly, enforcing laws that protect animals.
That makes sense. Laws set the groundwork
Yeah.
for what's acceptable, right?
Yeah.
But we know, even with laws, things aren't always perfect.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That's why individual responsibility is so crucial.
Okay.
We can't just leave it all up to lawmakers, right?
Right.
We all have a part to play in this
Right.
by being, vigilant, watching out for things,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking action when we see animal cruelty happening.
So you're talking about being an active bystander, not just looking away, but what does that actually look like, practically?
It can be as simple as reporting it.
Okay.
When you suspect cruelty, you report it to the right people.
Right.
Most places have animal control
Right.
or humane societies that are, equipped to handle these things.
I bet a lot of people might hesitate, though,
Yeah.
to get involved. They worry about overreacting or not having enough evidence.
I get that. I totally understand. But honestly, it's better to be safe than sorry,
Yeah.
If something seems wrong, if you see an animal that's neglected
Mm-hmm.
or abused, trust your gut. Make
Okay.
that call, you could literally save a life.
So reporting is a big one. What else can people do to actually make a difference?
Supporting organizations that are, dedicated to animal welfare,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Sure.
Groups like the International Animal Rescue Foundation
Mm-hmm.
or the Humane Society, they're critical. They're doing the work on the ground, rescuing animals,
Yeah.
providing vet care,
Mm-hmm.
and pushing for stronger laws to protect animals.
Donating to them is an obvious way to help. But are there other ways to contribute?
Volunteering your time, that's incredibly valuable.
Okay.
Shelters always need people to walk dogs, play with cats, give those animals waiting for homes some TLC.
Right.
You can also help with fundraising
Okay.
or awareness campaigns, even just sharing info about animal welfare on social media. That helps to spread the word.
Yeah, I like that idea, using your voice, your platform to get the message out there. But the article also got me thinking about our choices as consumers.
Mm.
How much does what we buy, what we eat, even what we wear, impact animal
I
welfare?
think a really important point that those everyday decisions we make,
Hmm.
they can have big consequences for animals.
For instance, factory farms. A lot of people are worried about the conditions in those places. Can we even eat meat ethically? Or are we all kind of participating in a system that's built on suffering?
That's a tough question. No easy answers. The article doesn't tell us what to eat,
Okay.
but it encourages us to be aware
Okay.
of how our choices impact animals.
So whether we cut back on meat or choose more humane farming practices or just educate ourselves,
Mhm.
about how things really are. It's about making conscious choices,
Absolutely.
understanding where our food comes from.
It's not about guilt or pushing a specific diet. It's about empowering people to make choices that match their own values.
It's about awareness again,
Mm,
really engaging with these issues,
right?
thinking about how we relate to the animal world.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's something else the article talks about that kind of surprised me. It's the role of culture and tradition
Yeah.
in fighting animal cruelty. It seems kind of counterintuitive.
Mhm.
Don't traditions often go against animal welfare?
You think so, right?
Yeah.
But the article gives some pretty amazing examples.
Oh, okay.
It talks about communities in Nigeria where traditions actually protect certain animals.
Like those giant rats we talked about before. The ones that are revered in Nui.
Exactly. In Nanui, it's taboo to hurt or eat those rats. So they've been totally shielded from exploitation.
So even a tradition that seems unusual to us can be good for animals.
Absolutely.
Are there other examples like that?
The article mentions Aka, another place in Nigeria,
Okay.
where monkeys are protected by custom too. These traditions, they show that our beliefs can be really powerful in shaping how we treat animals.
It's fascinating to think that, instead of just making laws, we can find allies in unexpected places,
Mm-hmm.
like these old traditions that already value certain species.
Absolutely. The article suggests that working with those local traditions and leaders can be a really effective way to promote animal welfare more broadly.
Yeah.
It's about finding common ground,
Okay.
building on shared values to make things better.
So we've looked at laws, individual actions, organized efforts,
Yeah,
and even cultural traditions. It's clear that dealing with animal cruelty is a multi-layered thing.
it is,
But I'm curious, what stood out to you in this article? What really stuck with you?
honestly.
Hmm.
It was how much they emphasized the link between animal cruelty
Yeah.
and bigger societal problems.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that how we treat animals reflects on us as humans,
Mm.
on our empathy, our compassion.
I agree. It's easy to dismiss animal cruelty as, a side issue.
Right.
But this article makes a really strong case for why it should matter to all of us. It's not just about animals, it's about creating a better world.
Yeah, it's like holding up a mirror
Yeah.
to ourselves, asking some hard questions about what we believe in, how we act,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of society we want to live in.
This deep dive has been quite a journey.
It has.
We've dug into some tough stuff
Yeah.
about human behavior, about how animals can be mistreated and exploited.
Stupid heavy.
It has, but we've also seen some hope, too.
Yeah.
The dedication of people out there doing the work, the organizations fighting for animal welfare, and even those unexpected ways that culture can protect animals.
Yeah, for sure.
It's clear that fighting animal cruelty is a big task. But one thing that shines through is how much power each of us has
Exactly.
to change things.
Whether it's reporting abuse, supporting organizations, making better choices as consumers, or just speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves, every little bit counts.
The article focused on Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
but we really encourage you to think about what you've learned and apply it to your own community.
Yeah.
Look around, ask questions, don't be afraid to challenge what's considered normal.
You know, the well-being of animals is tied to our own. Their fate is our fate.
Yeah.
What we do today will shape the world we live in tomorrow.
This has been our deep dive into animal cruelty. We hope it's given you a fresh perspective and made you feel like you can make a difference.
We hope so.
We hope you'll join us next time for another deep dive. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep. It really makes you think. We've been talking about giant rats and monkeys halfway across the world.
Yeah.
But what about, the animals right here,
Hmm?
in our own neighborhoods?
Right here.
What are they dealing with?
That's a great point. The article might have been about Nigeria, but this isn't just a Nigerian problem.
Right.
It's everywhere. And it's not always, obvious abuse either.
Oh.
Sometimes it's more like neglect,
Mhm.
exploitation,
Okay.
or even these cultural practices that seem harmless,
Yeah.
but can actually hurt animals without people realizing it.
Like those traditions. Right.
Yeah,
Some are good for animals,
exactly.
but I'm guessing some aren't so good.
Right, exactly. It's about taking a closer look at how we do things here,
Okay.
how we interact with animals,
Mm-hmm.
and asking ourselves some tough questions.
Okay.
Are there any beliefs or practices we have that might be putting animals at risk?
Okay.
Can we use our local culture, our traditions, to help animals?
Yeah, like they did with those rats in Nui.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If they can create a safe place for giant rats, imagine what we could do here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about changing how animals are treated on farms,
Yeah.
or teaching people about how the choices they make every day affect animal welfare.
It's about starting a conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Raising awareness, getting people to change how they think.
Absolutely. It's not about blaming people or judging them.
Okay.
It's about working together to create a world where animals are treated with compassion.
Well, this deep dive has been quite a journey.
It has.
We started by talking about all the different types of cruelty,
Yeah.
from just plain neglecting an animal to organized abuse.
Right.
We looked at those disturbing links between cruelty to animals and violence towards humans.
That was heavy stuff.
Yeah, and we talked about how important it is to step in early,
Mm-hmm.
to stop that cycle.
Right, that cycle, yeah.
And we saw how powerful individual action can be,
Yeah.
the amazing work of organizations fighting for animal welfare,
Mm-hmm.
and even those surprising ways that culture can either help or hurt animals.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's clear that fighting animal cruelty is complicated.
It is.
But what really stands out is the power we all have
Yeah, we can all make a difference.
to make things better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether it's reporting abuse, supporting organizations, making good choices as consumers, or just speaking up for those who can't, every little bit helps.
The article we talked about was about Nigeria,
Yeah.
but we really hope you'll take what you've learned
Mm-hmm.
and think about how it applies to where you live.
It's your own community, yeah.
Look around, ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to challenge the way things are.
Remember, how we treat animals is a reflection of who we are. Their fate is connected to ours. And what we do today, it really does matter for the future.
That's it for our deep dive into animal cruelty. We hope this episode has given you some new insights and encouraged you to take action. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.